Jadeveon Clowney actually was offered a significant amount of money. I think
$18.5 million approximately
by the Browns, and that was probably the most money he was offered. And nobody thought he was going to be offered that kind of money, even in a 1-year scale.
Right.
He turned it down. Do you think Jadeveon Clowney was going to find a team to play for, or do you think it's going to be a lost season for him? And do you think he's worth any of the money that people are saying that he's worth?
Well, here's the thing about Clowney that has interested people since he was a freshman at South Carolina is his potential. Because you look at him and he's a freak of nature. He's a tall guy. He's fast. We know from that hit that he laid on that poor Michigan running back in the
Outback Bowl.
The Outback Bowl back, in 2013. I remember watching that game and being just amazed at this guy's athletic ability. So he still lives off a lot of that. I think people are still kind of waiting for that to emerge. He's been okay. He hasn't been a breakthrough guy as far as getting to the quarterback. He's no Lawrence Taylor. He's no Derek Thomas. He's not even like a Kevin Green. So I think that is what he still can get paid on, is potential. Now, for the Browns to offer him that amount of money, I don't see how he's going to get any more from anybody else. At this point in his career, he's had the chance to win. So now he's really got to bank in on what his potential is, because he doesn't have many more years of kind of tricking people with his potential. So if he gets any more than that, it'll be from a desperate team that really has no other choice. I think his best bet is to sign with the Browns. I think it would work out well for him, being that I think he would add a lot to their defense.
I also think, though, too, the rumors that have been floating around with the top candidates for Clowney was really the Browns for a while, but it was also teams like the Seahawks and the Titans.
And the Jets.
Which were both playoff teams already. Maybe he doesn't really care about that as much as people think. Maybe he's all the lobbying of he wants this bigger contract is actually a fake, and maybe the Seahawks don't want to take him back, but he wants to go back there, or the Titans don't want to give him the right kind of money, because we already saw that with the Eagles. They wanted him too, but not at the price he was asking for. So maybe there's a middle ground to that too, where he might want to bank for that big prime contract a little bit, but he also might want to win too and play for good coaching. That's why I think he will either probably go back to the Seahawks or go to the Titans, who shed a lot of salary this offseason with other players, maybe to make room for him.
I can see that.
Because they could use an outside rusher, a dynamic outside rusher. They have a lot of good depth in that area with some young players, but they don't really have that dynamic one outside rusher. And now losing Jarrell Casey, they might have to change their whole defense around too to be more of a 4-3 type.
I would ask you guys, what other team in the AFC is really fit to challenge Kansas City? Now that Brady's gone,
Baltimore.
Tennessee is probably one of the teams that would vie for that, don't you think?
Baltimore. That's the only team right now in the AFC that will give them problems in so many ways. I think Baltimore all around is the most talented team in the AFC. Kansas City has a lot of weapons. They added a running back. That's something that they needed, even though their running game has been very, very good, even with the logic of losing Kareem Hunt a couple of years ago. Their running game was still sufficient, and it added good depth to the team. That's because Andy Reid is a smart guy, and he understands the drafting and understands how to draft in the NFL.
But he's had to do that since he's got there, since Jamal Charles.
Yeah. So to me, it's the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, with the offensive line as good as it is. The defense, they added some pass rushers. Campbell in the offseason gives them that outtake of what they need. That line is as dominant, to me, of a line in football now. They gave the pass rushers. Their secondary is so underrated. This is one of the best
really good
secondaries in football. They're very well coached. They have one of the best special teams coach in the NFL. They've been amongst the top 5 of special teams in the last 6 years. They're an incredible team, and I do think they're a championship away from being looked at as comparable to the Patriots of the last 15, 16 years, because even though Baltimore hasn't been as dominant in going to all those Super Bowls, Baltimore has won 2 Super Bowls in the last 20 years. And if they win another Super Bowl, that's 3 out of the last 20 years. The Patriots have only won 6. Actually, if they've won
6. Yeah.
They've won 6. They've won 6 in 20 years, but they've also been caught cheated 3 or 4 times. So again, the Baltimore Ravens, who have come out and said things about the New England Patriots, and they were one of the reasons with the Deflategate. That was the Baltimore Ravens coming out and saying what they said because of what they did to Baltimore in that game with the offensive line situation. So
I remember Baltimore stood in their way a couple of times.
Yes.
They beat them in the championship game once. They should have beaten them another time. The wide receiver doesn't drop a pass. And then they had them in another playoff game where they were up by 2 touchdowns twice.
That was the year Arrow was referring to. They were up 28-14 at halftime.
Yep. And the Patriots with the Deflategate and all the crap that happened that year, which I think is a crock. I don't care. You could deflate a ball all you want. It doesn't make a difference in my eyes. But if you're taping games just like the Astros are doing, or you're taping practices and trying to get hand signals, that's cheating. And they did that for 2 years.
And in a sport like football, where coaching is so vital, play calling is so vital, if you know everything is coming, that makes a huge difference. If the talent's the same, and the talent wasn't even close at that time, the Rams were definitely a much better team when they did that.
Yeah, and to me, with the Baltimore Ravens and where they are right now as a team, they're as good as any team right now in football. So I think it's Baltimore. But if you ask me, in the AFC East, everybody keeps talking, and we had a bunch of NFL Network people that joined us 3 weeks ago. They keep talking about the Buffalo Bills. How great is the Buffalo Bills? Josh Allen.
Right.
This is his third year.
I'm kind of getting sick of it, actually.
Yeah, well, with the additions that they added, Josh Norman, he's an old Josh Norman. They added some significant playmakers on the outside in Stephon Diggs. And again, I'll say this to all the Stephon Diggs fans. Stephon Diggs has been on my fantasy team for 3 years. Go look at his numbers the last 2 years. His numbers came at the end of the season when they meant nothing. They meant nothing. He had He had 700 yards in week number 13. In the last 3 weeks, he had almost 350, 380 yards. That doesn't help your fantasy team. That doesn't tell me that Stephon Diggs is a number one guy. They overpaid. The Bills overpaid for Stephon Diggs. Now, hopefully he turns out to be the player that he is, or how they think they is going to be. And all those NFL Network people that think that these guys are the next big thing, I think it's ridiculous.
Well, talent-wise, they're as close to it as you can get.
As far as their defense is concerned, their offense stinks.
Now, the question is, though, too, Mark, I don't know if you've been listening the last couple of weeks. I've mentioned this with the Bills. How much are they going to handle being this kind of favorites, too? Because we saw it with the Browns last year. Right. We saw with the Browns last year. They want to get him going. They want to hype him up. And I think the Bills are being treated like that team this year in the AFC because they want to see something new. Whereas, again, I think they embraced more being the underdog last year because everyone was talking about the Patriots. Everyone was talking about even the Jets getting Le'Veon Bell, getting C.J. Mosley, and they were kind of being forgotten about. They were like, all right, here we go. They're the same old Bills again. And yet they kind of embraced that. And even their playoff year, everyone thought it was going to be the Chargers because they were on this insane hot streak.
I was one of those.
You were one of them, as I was telling you now. And then the team I thought would make it was the Ravens. They fell apart.
And your Washington Redskins, okay? So don't get me started about talking about what I said. How good Washington's defense is going to be, and they're going to make the play.
Completely different year.
Get out. I don't care.
That was a different year.
Yeah, you said it, and the obnoxious statements you made about Washington. How great that was last year, buddy. You said their defense was great.
About 2017.
Their defense was great. By the way, they were terrible. Okay, they're front
I'm talking
seven.
about 2017.
I don't care what you're talking about. Some of the things are outrageous on what you say, and the Redskins defense absolutely obnoxious. It was an obnoxious statement to say that the Redskins defense was going to be great because they have seven guys that were first-round draft picks on their front line. Give me a break. They were overrated. They are going to be overrated this year. I think they're a lot better than they were last year, and even though I think Ron Rivera is a very good coach, he's going to a team that doesn't have a starting quarterback, and I don't want to hear about Haskins. Haskins has got to prove himself, and he's got to play all season long. And by the way, they bring in a backup quarterback that might win the job. So to me, I don't know where the Redskins are as a team, and by the way, that's a team that Speedy seems to love every single year. So
they're average right now.
To answer Speedy's original question, what I think, and Aaron and I talked about this on Saturday, what I think the Bills' biggest problem is you look at Josh Allen's completion percentage. It's still in the high 50s, mid 50s. He's got to get better at that. Now, I know he can run, but we were talking about, I think when he runs, he gets hit, and he's going to get hit hard. And if he doesn't learn how to change that to where he doesn't rely as much on his running as he does on his passing, he's got to get his completion percentage up to about 65%, because that's what basic average quarterbacks do now, between like 62 and 65%. So if he's not around there, he's gonna have some problems. Last year he did really good at taking care of the ball. He didn't normally do it throughout his college career, and he struggled with that a little bit as a rookie. So that's what I think he's really got to to improve on overall. Last year he did it well, but I don't like his ability to do that consistently.
Now, also, though, I think with Allen, though, he's also more of a sophisticated thrower, gunslinger type, too, though, where a lot of the rookies that everyone glamours on their completion percentage all the time, they maybe don't make those types of throws either, and they also try more sophisticated throws. Again, and I think you're seeing that. You saw that with the Browns with Baker Mayfield in 2018 when he was strong.
Garbage.
No, in 2018 when he was good.
Garbage. I don't care. He garbage.
No, last year he was.
No, I know what you're talking about. He's still garbage. I don't want to hear about Baker Mayfield. He's garbage because nobody knew how to defend him.
Right.
Now they know how to defend him.
But still, they glamored on him because of the completion percentage. And again, there's a lot of quarterbacks they judge with that even in college to glamour on that. Whereas Allen, I think, was more of that sophisticated thrower. He can make tough throws on the run. So maybe offensive play calling had something to do with it too.
I think Allen's biggest problem overall is accuracy. I wouldn't say he's such a dynamic quarterback because now with the NFL changing, obviously, everybody wants to be a team that has high completion percentage. So he's not advanced enough of a passer yet to where he can be like a Marino and throw 20, average 20 yards a pass. So until he proves he can do that, I'm not sure he can. I think that's going to be their biggest problem. I love McDermott. I love their defense. I think they're probably one of the best coached teams in football. But I think their downfall is going to be Allen. I
do too. Even though I like Josh Allen, I think my argument is he's working out right now with Sam Darnold. They're very good friends, and they obviously were drafted in the same year, and they became good friends at the Combine. And I like his persona. I like what he is as a player. I just want to see him do it consistently, and I want to see him do it on a good team. Everybody keeps talking about this Buffalo Bills, how great they are. Their defense is explosive, and now they added the offensive weapons they need to win. Okay, now go into the playoff game and not cough up a game. Not cough up a game that you should have won. Right. They should have won that game. Yep. They should have won the first round. And I'll tell you this right now, that was the year the Buffalo Bills could have went to the Super Bowl last year. They could have. They were good enough. Their defense was as good as any team in football going into the playoffs. A matter of fact, if you look at the Buffalo Bills numbers in the last 4 weeks, they were amongst the top 5 in every statistical category.
They were good. They were good. So they still couldn't beat New England. And that was the thing that they needed to do. They couldn't do it. They beat Pittsburgh, one of the best games on the road. And you thought that they were going to be a team that could go and win a couple road games, and they didn't. So as much as they achieved last year, they didn't really do anything when it came to the playoffs. They couldn't even win a first-round game. So until you do that, you don't deserve to be talked about as the next anything until you actually do it.
And I think a lot of them look at the young teams, though, too. Like the Bills are just waiting for it, and now they finally have the young talent building the right way. They just want the media. They just want a new team to be able to do that, and that was Cleveland last year with all the talent they got. And this year it's seeming like it's going to be the Bills in the AFC. That's the team they're hyping up. But again, I don't know if they can handle the pressure of being favorites like that. I still think they'll be good, but they're not. I don't think they're going to be like 12-4 like.
Well, we also have to see how the teams are going to react with no crowds. We're going to see how they play with that. I mean, a lot of teams might think it's a little weird or they're not going to be able to do it. I mean, we don't know. And now I know a lot of people, what I think is going to be very, very fun to watch this season, especially early in the season until maybe 25 or 30% of the crowds can go to the games, maybe in the second half of the season. What I want to see is I want to hear some of the plays and how are they going to call the plays at the line of scrimmage and when they're calling hand signals, because you're going to be able to hear their voices. You're going to hear them. Now I'm hearing stories that the NFL is going to have fake crowds screaming and stuff like that. But who's to say that we're not going to be able to hear what's going on in the middle of the game? And to me, that's a big advantage right now, a big advantage to some of these coaches, especially guys like Bill Belichick, who's going into a season now with a rookie quarterback. So I'm very intrigued and very interested to see how this is going to work for the NFL. Out of all the sports, and hockey will work fine, basketball will work fine, baseball will work fine. Football, I don't know about that, because to me, you're calling plays at the line of scrimmage, audibles, and you're hearing these players. These guys talk a lot of crap at the line of scrimmage. Right. So we're gonna have the opportunity to hear what these guys are saying, and how are they going to mind that to some of the watchers that are going to be watching the game. There are going to be more people watching and more sponsorships and advertisements because you're not going to be going to the games. They're going to be watching it on TV. So I'm very intrigued on how the NFL is going to deal with this going forward, going into the season.